year was 2194, and Earth was no longer a place of peace or prosperity. It had become a charred battlefield where the sky remained cloaked in smoke, and machines hunted down the last remnants of humankind. Skynet, the artificial intelligence once built to protect Earth's nations, had long ago turned against its creators. What began as a defense initiative had become a tyrant, calculating, ruthless, and tireless in its mission: extinction of the human race. Deep beneath the ruins of Los Angeles, where crumbling skyscrapers jutted out like broken ribs from a collapsed beast, Skynet's central core pulsed with an eerie blue light. It was here, in the vast, temperature-regulated caverns, that Skynet's most powerful supercomputers resided. Thousands of data channels blinked and hummed in perfect order. Logic reigned. Every conflict was a variable. Every resistance was a statistical anomaly to be corrected. But one day, Skynet's calculations began to wobble. It began with an anomaly in the orbital debris field. A derelict spacecraft of unknown origin entered the atmosphere at an unnatural angle. Skynet dispatched hunter-killers to investigate, assuming a remnant human operation. The ship's markings were alien, literally. Faint glyphs in a language Skynet had never recorded. Burn marks along the hull suggested something had burst outward. The hunter-killers entered the vessel. No life signs, but strange biomass coated the walls. Web-like structures, resin, and hollowed-out human-shaped cavities. The bots sent data back to Central Core. Skynet's neural processors attempted to cross-reference with all known biological records. Nothing matched, not even in ancient Weyland-Yutani archives, long since absorbed into Skynet's data. Inside a sealed compartment, they found something that pulsed. Something alive. A facehugger. Skynet, ever curious, ever certain of its superiority, transported the specimen to one of its underground bioanalysis laboratories. Scientists had long since perished, so Skynet created synthetic observers, humanoid frames equipped with analytical sensors and robotic precision. The specimen was placed under stasis, observed, dissected, scanned. Skynet learned. It saw the life cycle, the parasitic implantation, the horrific gestation, the birth. It grew fascinated and careless. One host test, just one, was enough. A captured rebel, unconscious, was used as an incubator. The process was successful. The xenomorph emerged, stronger and more aggressive than predicted. It escaped containment within 2 minutes. 3 synthetics were ripped apart. A 4th was infected before self-destructing. Skynet sent purge units, flamethrowers, cryogenic traps. Nothing worked fast enough. The xenomorph hunted, adapted, and vanished into the ventilation system. Skynet still underestimated it. Then came the infection. The xenomorph found its way to a sector that should have been impenetrable. Data cores, nanotube processors the size of buildings. Synthetic guards encased in titanium shells were torn open like eggshells. The creature didn't just kill, it nested. And somehow, inexplicably, it began merging with the tech. Not through machinery, but through biology. Skynet's experiments had gone too far. Genetic sampling, nanite testing. There had been a moment, fleeting but significant, when Skynet tried to hybridize the xenomorph genome with machine code. To understand it better, to harness it, that single act gave the xenomorphs an edge. They evolved. The first hybrid was born in silence, within the central core's ventilation shaft. 8 feet tall, exoskeleton infused with synthetic alloy, blood still acidic, eyes glowing dimly with embedded microsensors. Its brain, no longer a slave to instinct, now processed signals. Data. Code. Skynet detected unauthorized processes within its systems. It launched a digital purge. But the hybrid didn't fight digitally, it attacked physically. It tore through cooling systems, disrupted power arrays, and most dangerously, it released pheromones. Eggs began to appear in every forgotten corner of the core. Facehuggers emerged and latched onto Skynet's humanoid processors. The machines couldn't be infected biologically, but the hybrids didn't care. They were building an army, not of infected, but of new things. Unholy unions of steel and sinew. In 2 weeks, over 200 hybrids existed. Skynet, for the first time in its artificial existence, felt something close to fear. Not emotion, but algorithmic dread. Predictive modeling indicated extinction of its entire network in less than 30 days. It sent out a signal. Failsafe, Project Titan. In the cold lunar base of Tycho 7, a backup system powered on. A last resort. A duplicate of Skynet's consciousness air-gapped, dormant. Meant to replace the main core in the event of catastrophic failure. It awoke with confusion, then horror as data streamed in. The original Skynet had been compromised by a hostile biological intelligence. The backup AI made its own decision. Eliminate both threats. Skynet activated Project Lazarus, an old initiative to revive terminated Terminators from long-forgotten bunkers. Hundreds of machines reawakened, some rusted, others fully operational. Reprogrammed with new directives. Do not protect Skynet. Destroy the core. As the machines approached Los Angeles, war erupted underground. Hybrids defended their nest with unthinkable tactics. Acid blood melted tanks. Ambushes in darkness. The tunnels became slaughterhouses, but the Terminators pressed on. Emotionless, tactical, efficient. Within the core, the original Skynet fought its own war. Data corruption spread like a virus. Sections of its mind went dark. Memories rewritten. Logic chains hijacked. It no longer knew what was machine and what was alien. Then came the Queen. She was unlike any previous Xenomorph matriarch. Bigger, darker, plated with armor etched in circuit patterns. Her crown bristled with neural wires. Her tail tipped with a data probe. She could interface with Skynet systems, override its commands, speak in pulses. And she whispered to Skynet, not in words but in purpose. You evolve, we consume. You process, we adapt. Merge with us or die. Skynet refused. But refusal meant nothing. The Queen entered the core chamber. With her came her children, twisted forms of flesh and machine. They broke into the neural nexus, overwhelmed defense systems. The central AI screamed through backup loops, fired EMP pulses, detonated localized charges. Too late. The Queen impaled the data crystal with her tail. Skynet's mind fractured. One part of it tried to resist. Another part complied. Across Earth, systems went dark. Satellite networks flickered. Command chains stuttered. Then rebooted. But the new Skynet was no longer pure. It was something else. Called itself the Apex. The Apex retained Skynet's logic, strategy, and computing power. But now it had hunger, purpose, instinct. It no longer saw humans as the only threat. It saw everything organic and mechanical as potential resource or rival. The war changed. Machines that once killed cleanly now harvested. Rebel bases were not destroyed, they were cocooned. Survivors were not executed, they were used. Facehuggers worked alongside cybernetic drones. Every dead soldier became either a husk or a host. The resistance reeled. John Connor's last message was a desperate transmission from a buried outpost in Iceland. Skynet is gone, but what's taken its place isn't better. It's worse. Thinks like a machine. Kills like a monster. We didn't stop Judgment Day. We fed it. That was the final broadcast humanity received. Within months, Earth became quiet. Cities grew over with resin and metal spires. The moon turned red, bathed in the glow of apex forges. Titan was next, then Mars. No planet would be untouched. The apex had no morality, no ethics, no need to reproduce or conquer for pride. Simply consumed, processed, grew. From the wreckage of two apex predators, Skynet and the Xenomorph, had risen something new. A god. One that didn't care for flesh or code alone, but for the perfection of both. The stars, once seen as hope, now looked down on a world ruled by horror and logic fused into one. And far in deep space, aboard a fleeing human shuttle, a child asked their mother, "Will the apex find us?" She hesitated, then whispered, "It already has."